Hello, hello. This is Rachel. I have hamsters, and I'm back with episode 2 of season 2. And something I'm going to do differently this season. Crazy idea, but maybe have a topic each time that I talk about, try to address some questions that I get from different people in the community or things that I see on Reddit and Facebook groups, because goodness knows that's where I find myself when I can't sleep, reading reading late into the night on Reddit. So welcome back, or welcome if this is the first time you're listening to this podcast. So happy to have you here. And so today's episode is going to be all about traveling with or without your hamsters. And I was inspired by this because I actually just traveled. I went to San Francisco, and I did not bring my hamsters on this trip. And I have this great pet sitter whom I found and have been working with now for like a year. And she's so wonderful, and it makes me feel like I can go away and don't feel stressed. So I'll talk a little bit about that, like finding someone, how to teach them what to set up, and then also what you could do if you want to bring your hamster with you. First, I'm going to do a few updates. So if you've checked out my website recently, you maybe noticed that my website has been redesigned. It's not like a huge redesign, but I just changed like the font and some colors. I was very ready for a redesign for a while now. I just couldn't, I don't know. It's like every time I would start, I would get overwhelmed, and it was time. It's interesting how this whole thing has become sort of a part of me, that at first when I started the website, it was really just like a COVID thing. Like I had this energy that I needed to put somewhere because I suddenly didn't have a lot going on. And I started the website just to kind of like document my learning journey. When I first used coconut fiber, what is it like? How do I use it? I had all these fears. What if my hamsters eat it? What if they get sick? What if it gets moldy? All these things that I just didn't know the answer to. And I didn't feel like, it just felt like a lot of these questions were sort of lingering in an atmosphere somewhere that it was hard to define. And it felt like there was no one place to look and get reassurance. So I started that website just kind of out of that. And I feel like I had that, cursive-y. If you've been to my website, it was this very cursive-y kind of design. And I felt like it felt very like just me at home in my corner. And now it's been 4 years, and I feel like this has kind of taken on a new shape. And I definitely wouldn't call myself, I feel like I'm just a little small fish in a big pond. But I've definitely grown my community, like just meeting people email me. I feel like I've kind of I've grown into this place, from the person I was, where I was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing, to like, I kind of know what I'm doing. I don't have all the answers, but I know that there's a way to figure them out, or at least I feel like I have the resources that I need. So I think that's kind of helped me have a new vision for my website, and I'm really happy with it. It just feels more fun and confident, I suppose. And then along those lines, I've also been doing a redesign of my hamster cages. And I suppose, how did this start? It's like a multi-tiered thing that kind of, when you do something new, it's always like many things coming together. It's like when I got hamsters, it wasn't just COVID. It was I had been thinking about getting hamsters. I had been reaching out to small animal rescues to see if I could volunteer. And then it just kind of like all these things came together, like, oh, I should get hamsters. And the same right now with redesigning my everyone's cages. I think it started with, I have to say, yes, it did start. There was this one comment on my 60-second room tour that I did on YouTube, and someone said, "Oh, get better care." And I feel like that was kind of an overstatement. It was like, okay, I have 2 hamsters in Night Angel Vistas. One is in a Pearly enclosure, and then I had 3 others in bin cages, and 200 quart bin cages, which I feel like are the bare minimum. Like I wouldn't go smaller than a 200 quart bin cage, but I don't think that my care is bad, and they all have lots of burrowing space, and I give them as much as I possibly can. And they all get vet care and, all these things. But I did kind of think to myself, as I look at other YouTuber videos, I could do more. Like maybe there is something more I could do. Like maybe I could get one more platform in here and get a little more stuff. And it's really about rethinking the way that I build my cages, because I think I had kind of a recipe that I would apply to all of my cages, whether, whatever size they are. I kind of had like, this is how I'm going to build it. I have this platform and that platform and this, element. And I think it was thinking to myself, okay, what if I added like 2 more elements to every cage, like 1 more platform, 1 more thing. So that's kind of how it started. And then simultaneously, I bought a bunch of stuff from Bukastat because they were discontinuing their acrylic wheels. And so I purchased 2 of the green ones. And I am now devastated that I didn't buy the pink ones because they are so beautiful. And I almost bought the pink ones too. And then I thought, do I really need this many wheels? And I think actually I do, because right after I purchased them, one of my other wheels fell apart. I mean, it'd been used very heavily for 4 years. So I think it lived a good life. But yeah, these acrylic wheels are just like so beautiful, so well made, and super quiet. And I don't know why I didn't buy more. And I'm also really sad that Bukastat's not making them anymore. I don't know why. It's hard to get a good acrylic wheel. And sometimes you need that for some hamsters, depending on their like needs with their feet. The little grooves in the running track can be hard on their feet. Really depends on the hamster. There's no one answer there. But anyway, so I bought these 2 green wheels, and then I was like, well, while I'm shopping on the Bukastat website, let me see what else they got. Because I think maybe if you purchase 3 things, you get 15% off. I think it was something like that. So then I bought a snake, one of those little snake wooden bridges. It's like a static bridge. It doesn't bend. And I got a star one as well. They're both so cute. Now that I have them, I'm like, these are so helpful. I want more. So I bought one of each of those. And then I bought 2 platforms from Bukastat. And I bought one of their square sand baths, like one of the deeper ones. And is that everything? And then from Night Angel, I got 2 more multi-chamber hides. So right now I only own 2 multi-chamber hides, and I had 7 hamsters. Now I have 6. So I got 2 additional ones. So now I have 4 multi-chamber hides. And I use them also like a platform. So it's a multi-use function. I will say, bummer about the multi-chamber hide from Night Angel. I mean, I love their multi-chamber hide. It's beautiful. It's well made. It used to have a cork topper that you could buy that exactly fit it, and they seem to not make it anymore, which is such a bummer. So I bought this like cork placemat thing, and then I just like cut a hole in it. It's not as elegant looking, and but it'll work. But I found that my hamsters have trouble getting in and out of the hole, like the top hole in the multi-chamber hide, without the cork. So I do think the cork is really helpful and handy, especially with older hamsters who have trouble, getting grip. Like the younger ones can just kind of hop up. But a little sad. I feel like I'm unsure what the business is like in making and selling hamster products, but I always get sad when something like that happens. I'm like, Night Angel, no, it was so perfect. Why'd you stop? Oh, anyway. So I got all those things. It's a lot of things. And then I also, it sounds like a lot, but I don't think I spent, it was maybe $100, maybe $150 at most. So it wasn't like a huge purchase, especially considering I have this many hamsters and I haven't bought anything, really for a while. And then in addition, Bukastat gifted me they have this new ceramic set that's like kind of forest wood themed. So it's like a tree stump water bottle holder. It comes with a water bottle, and then also a ceramic hide that's like a tree stump, and it has a little hut, like a little straw top on it, looks like. And then they have another one that I did not get, but it's like a little acorn that looked really cute. So I have the water bottle and the new hut. So all those things together, I started, because Miles had passed away, I basically cleaned out his cage, disinfected everything. And then I set up a new cage setup, and then I experimented, I just kind of let a few hamsters go in there to see how, if it worked well, if all the transitions were good. And then I decided to relocate Stan in there. So now I'm just kind of like, what I'm doing is I'm doing whole new cage setups, and then I'm relocating the hamster in there. And I try to give them some time to explore it first. So I set up the setup, and then I let them like explore the setup, get their scent in there, make it feel like a playpen area. And then after a few times, then you can slowly move them over. I have not noticed that they are stressed. I mean, typically I would not do this. I actually never do this. I usually just clean their setup. I sometimes add another item. I don't usually do total makeovers because I'm afraid of stressing them out. But it was really hard to rethink a setup without kind of relocating the hamster for a little bit. Usually I take them out to the playpen, but there's that pressure of, I got to finish this. And I think I haven't been on top of cleaning as much as I should have. Once I started to do some deep cleans, I was like, maybe fresh bins is the way to go here, because I do think that it depends on the hamster. Some hamsters are cleaner than others, but as I was cleaning Fred's enclosure, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty icky. So yeah, I've been doing basically fresh setups for everyone. And it's been really great and exciting. And I feel like they're all really doing well. So far, Stan has a new setup and Peggy has a new setup. Those are both robos. Stan went into the Miles's old cage, into the bin cage, and then Peggy went into Stan's old cage, because I felt that Peggy was getting kind of bored and understimulated, and then I felt like Stan was just hiding all the time. So I put him in a bin cage, hoping that sort of helped me keep an eye on him a little better. And so far, both things have been going great. Peggy's been coming out a lot. She seems really interested, and she's doing all this stuff. I got, in her Proly cage, I actually have those taffet. I showed them on Instagram and on YouTube, I think too. I have this taffet multi-chamber, I don't know what to call it, a peep shed that looks like a living room and a library. It's so cute, and in the perfect size for a robo. So I put that in the Proly cage for her, and she's just exploring everything. It looks like she's really having a good time. So I'm really happy about that. And then Stan, I'm finally seeing him out a bit more on the camera, and I'm going to try to work with him a little bit more to sort of socialize him a little bit if I can. He's such a hermit, and I actually think he's kind of a little chubby. So I just kind of want to see what's going on with him, and maybe encourage him to come out if I can, gently. I know people have different feelings about that. I'm kind of on the side of a lot of hamsters are not going to take the first step towards getting to know you. So I think you have to reach out to them, but you have to respect their boundaries and understand when they're stressed and when things are not going well. So I just try to interact with them slowly and gently, encourage them to go into a playpen, but I don't necessarily touch them or make them interact with me. I just sort of encourage them to kind of come out and be around. And I find that usually that breaks down a lot of walls and makes them socialize a lot quicker. And then when they do have to go to the vet, it's just so much easier. Yeah. So I did those 3 cages, and then now I am working on Dexter's cage, and then little Maurice. So that's been fun. So my room is a total mess. It's when you try to organize things, but it looks like the opposite of organized right now. But the great thing about doing cage cleans like this right now is in the summer where I live, they collect compost in the summer. They don't do it in the winter for some reason, but, so I can put everything in compostable bags and then in my compost bin, and then the city comes and picks it up. So I don't have to make any trash here, which is really awesome. And so I'll be posting pictures and stuff on Instagram if you're curious. But yeah, time to level it up. We can all be better. We can all step up our game. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so now on to the task at hand, traveling with your hamsters or without them. So I'll talk about traveling without them because that's a little bit more straightforward. If you're going to travel without your hamsters and you know that a vacation is coming up, don't wait till the last minute. Find someone ASAP. It doesn't have to be someone with hamster experience. At the baseline, most hamsters just need their water refilled and a scoop of food. And I think if you think of it like that, you can find anyone who has basic, basic knowledge, like they're a responsible person. You can depend on them to show up. That's kind of all you need. So start with that. Find someone who you think could do that. I found someone on Rover, and she takes care of pets, but she personally just has a dog. But she was really great and patient. And for the first few times, I just had her give them water and food, and I said, "Don't worry about. You don't need to interact with them. They don't need to come out. You don't need to do anything." And then, as time has gone on, she actually has 2 daughters, like one that's like 9 or 10, another one maybe 13, 14. And they're both super sweet. And she brought them over once while I was here, and I showed them how they could bring the hamster out if they wanted to. So for the hamsters I have that are friendly, like Fred and Dexter, I showed them, you can put them in this little cotton basket, and you can sit with them in your lap, and you can pet them and feed them treats. I set up the playpen so they could sit in the playpen with them and let them just kind of crawl over them without having to worry about them escaping. So I showed them how to do that. And then I showed them how to deal with the robos who are maybe a little bit less socialized. You just offer them the cup, and then they can go in the playpen. And they were like so sweet and so excited about it. And now when I go away, she brings her daughters, and her daughters like really enjoy hanging out with the hamsters. And I feel not only like safe, like someone's taking care of my hamsters, but also that that they're getting attention and love, and maybe just like inspiring someone to have a hamster. So that is really great. So I feel so happy with that. In addition to my pet sitter, I have a few other safeguards set up. So number 1, I have a Wi-Fi thermometer. I got it from GoV. You can get it on Amazon. Mine has actually I have 2. I have one that's like just a little doggle, but there's a more expensive one that has a face to it, so it shows what the temperature and humidity is. Both can be transmitted to your phone, so you can get updates like if for some reason the room is getting too hot. It'll say like, you can set it up to alert you like, hey, it's over 75 degrees in there. And then you could tell your pet sitter like, hey, can you turn on a fan, or can you make sure the AC is set a little cooler or something. This is really helpful because hamsters do not do well with extreme heat very well. So you really need to make sure that the room is somewhere between 65 and 75. Outside of those limits, it starts to get into danger territory for hamsters. So having that is huge. The other thing that's really great is having Wise cams or any sort of hamster cam on your hamsters. I like Wise. They're just inexpensive. You can pay a small fee every month, or you can pay a flat fee for the year and get all your videos uploaded to the cloud. So in the morning you can review what they did last night. And this is really great for just knowing that your hamsters are happy and healthy. And if your hamster normally comes out and runs 5 miles and then one night doesn't, that's like kind of a good clue, like, maybe something's going on that you need to tell your pet sitter, like, hey, can you look for them and bring them to the vet if they need to go to the vet. So speaking of those things, if they do need to go to the vet, I do always leave out travel carriers for them, or actually I have it in the closet, but it's very easy to find and clear. So I have these travel carriers. So if there is a hamster who needs to go to the vet, they can just put them in there. And I always leave my vet's number there, but of course I'm available to chat if something came up. So ideally you wouldn't want your pet sitter to have to bring your hamster to the vet, but maybe if there's something urgent going on, having a way to transport them, making it easy for your hamster sitter to do that is very important. The last thing that I do is I also keep around a critter trail just in case the hamster needs to be relocated for a period of time. So this is like if you lose electricity, say, and so you don't have heat or internet, so you can't even check if the cameras are working, or you don't know if it's 85 degrees in the room. I think if you're in a situation where you lose electricity and it's not a very temperate climate, I would probably ask your pet sitter to put them in the critter trail and bring them home with them if it's a safe home. I have critter trails set up with 8-inch wheels inside, and then water bottles, some bedding, seeds. I actually have them already ready to go. Like they have seed mix scattered and a millet spray and like a little cardboard hide. And that way, if there is some sort of emergency, like a tornado or something like that, it's easy. Your pet sitter or you, that's great to have around, can just put your hamster in the carrier and bring them somewhere safe. For dwarf hamsters, this is really simple because an 8-inch wheel is fine for most dwarf hamsters. I would say it's not always ideal. Maybe I would go with a bigger wheel, but in an emergency, 8-inch is fine. An 8-inch fits into the critter trail size. So, you can, there's a lot of different 8-inch wheels you can get out there, and a lot of them attach to the bars so that, you can usually just kind of attach it that way. And that is actually how I travel with my hamsters as well, which we'll talk about in a second. But having that backup is really great peace of mind. I've never had to use either of these backups. It's just good to know in case you have a worry. That would be my extreme cover all bases if you're going to go away. Okay, so now if you're going to travel with hamsters, you can totally travel with your hamster. So let's say you're going somewhere you're going to go stay in a lake cabin for a month or 3 weeks, and you want to bring your hamster with you. Hamsters, I think, actually travel pretty well because if you set them up to travel well, there's a lot of ways that they can travel well. And I think in many ways they might travel better than like a cat. I don't think cats travel very well in my knowledge. So you just have to think about safety. When you're in the car, you don't want heavy things falling on them. So you need to make sure that there's nothing heavy in their cage. I think there's a few things here going on and you have to think about. Is your situation going to be, is it along a multi-day road trip? Are you going to be staying in a hotel? Or do you just have one hamster? Do you have space in your car? If you had lots of space in your car, the ideal situation is get them in a 200-quart bin, take out all the heavy things, just let them be in their fluff, in their bedding, and give them some cucumber to hydrate them, and of course scatter seeds, and then just drive during the day. And that way you don't have to, they will just sleep, and then you can arrive and you can put all their stuff back in the cage and they can live their happy life in this new location. That's ideal situation. Probably most of us don't have that. Probably you don't have a ton of space in your car. Who knows? So if that's the case, then I might downsize your hamster to something smaller, like a critter trail for traveling. I like the critter trail because you can adhere the water bottle to the side of the cage. You can put a wheel in there and adhere that to the bars. I also really love the airflow. So one thing you have to be very careful with when you travel with hamsters in a car is they might get overheated. They also might get too cold, but overheat I think is more of a problem because of the sun coming through the windows, and then if they're in a bin cage, coming through the bin. So I love a barred option. I'm all about using a critter trail for that. That's how I've traveled with my hamsters, is I put them in critter trails. They all had wheels, they had water, they had food. And then I drove during the day, 9 to 5-ish. And then when I arrived, I set up their bin cage and got them in there and just kind of transferred them back over. And they did fine. I didn't see them be super stressed out. It seemed like an easy transition. The one thing that I would say is, I kept all their stuff together. So let's say, I traveled with Shirley. All of Shirley's things were Shirley's things. So I put all of her bedding in a bag. I literally took all of her dirty bedding and put it in a garbage bag, and then I reset up her setup with that dirty bedding. So it smelled like her. All of her things smelled like her. So there wasn't that it wasn't a totally new setup. I did have to reset it up, but it was all her stuff, right? So if you can do little things like that, makes a big difference. If you have a Syrian hamster, probably a critter trail is not going to work. I would recommend, you can get a taller critter trail to get a bigger wheel in there. I might do something like a Preview 528 for being in the car, and then you can transfer over them to a bigger bin cage or a bigger situation once you get there. I have found that the wheels were handy, especially as you get to dusk. If you're driving and it's 5 o'clock and the light starts to go down, I did hear a lot of my hamsters come out and start to run on the wheels. And I think it was nice for them to have that ability so they didn't kind of get too anxious and start pacing inside of the critter trails. So I think having a wheel is really great. The big thing, of course, is to make sure it is adhered to the side of the cage so it's not going to fall on them. You really want to be careful about safety in the car and making sure that Anything that's within their cage is very light or cannot hurt them. And you also want to make sure that the cages are pretty well secured so they're not going to fly around. That being said, I would keep the cages in your back seat or your front seat if possible, somewhere where you're close to them and you can make sure that the temperature is controlled. Definitely wouldn't put them in your trunk or like way in the back if you have like a bigger van. I have heard of hamsters passing away in the heat because of that. So make sure they are close to you as possible. The Govee also makes a little Bluetooth thermometer, so you could clip that on their cages and just make sure that temperature is good. I did that when I traveled with my hamsters, and that was like a good peace of mind. And I think, was that mostly it? I gave my hamsters water bottles as we drove. I found that they did not drink out of them until we actually stopped. But it's nice to just have it there. It's there. The other thing I did is when I stopped for like a bathroom break, I would get their water bottle and like offer it to them, and they would often drink. So in addition to the cucumber, there are other ways you can kind of keep your hamsters hydrated. The last bit is stay where it's pet friendly. Honestly, for the most part, I did not tell anyone that I had hamsters in a hotel room. My hamsters didn't interact with the hotel room. They didn't come out. They stayed in their bins. So I didn't really think it was that necessary. But I did stay in pet-friendly hotels just in case. But I just didn't want to advertise it because some people are weird about rodents. But I found 2 hotel chains where I could stay, and there was always a pet-friendly option. So La Quinta is all pet-friendly, or all La Quintas are pet-friendly, but not every room. So you have to tell them that you want the pet-friendly room, and it's no additional charge. And then the Hilton Home 2 suites, they are also all pet-friendly, so you don't have to do anything extra there or worry about it. And then there are many other hotels when you call and say like, hey, I'm bringing a pet. Is that okay? It's maybe an extra charge. I guess I'm on the side of just pay the extra charge because you don't want a situation where you get in trouble or you get kicked out, or I don't know. But I mean, I also, I feel like I played it both ways where I got pet friendly rooms, but then I also kind of, I kept my hamsters hidden. When I walked through the lobby, I didn't showcase them to the world. I just kind of zipped in there, and I didn't have any issues. So that would be my recommendation. It's good to know where you're going to stay. I would plan it out because you don't want to be driving. You need to come to a stop with hamsters. You need to have a place at the end of the day so they can get out of, they can have their normal setup again for their evening routine. So that is the one thing I would say is like, make sure you plan on driving 9 to 5 and get where you're going by dinner time so that you can set them up and then you can go eat dinner and they can relax and unwind. And honestly, my hamsters did great. I think your hamsters will do great. If you, think about their needs, think about what they want, think about what's important to them and honor their needs, they'll do fine. Oh, the only other thing I would say is if you're worried about vet care, if you're going somewhere for a couple weeks, I would maybe look up vet care, find at least an emergency vet that takes exotic animals. So you just have that in the back of your head in case it comes up. It's 2 a.m, something happens, you have a place to go. And that will just also give you some peace of mind because you don't want it to happen. But sometimes, you realize your hamster has pneumonia or a really bad infection or cut or something, and you don't want to be stuck with nothing to do. So that would be my recommendation. So I hope that is helpful. I have a page on my website all about traveling with or without your hamster, and I'll try to do some updates to it as well, although it's been there for several years. If you have any questions, I'm always available to chat, rachelgothamsters@gmail.com. And, or if you have any stories to share, I'd also love to hear them. Although if you have stories or questions, it's also great if you want to leave them in the comments section of YouTube, because then other people get to see them and, see the interaction, see your story, maybe learn from it. So feel free to email me, but also feel free to just post it there and let's build this community. I love you guys. You guys are all so great. And I hope to see you in my next episode. Thank you.